everybody, and welcome to the Meet the Makers podcast. I'm your host, Jack Blanch. Right to the left of me is Ryan Gerbrands.
Hello.
And in this episode, we are going to be talking to Jonny Harper. Obviously, at the time of recording this intro, we've already shot this weeks ago. This is great fun, guys. You're going to love this.
So fun.
John is would you call him the owner or would you call him the director? He is Boutique Distillery.
Yeah, he's the boss, CEO, co-founder, everything.
Yeah, he's a lovely man from New Zealand who makes a lovely couple of different gins here in the shop and a couple of things that I'm not sure if I can actually talk about.
No, it's happening.
It's happening now?
Yeah, next week it's launching.
Well, yeah.
It won't be next week when this is launched, but yeah.
Well, there you go. We finally managed to test a new gin that he has now. By the time you're seeing this, he has released.
And he announced he released today.
There you go. There you go. So we were very lucky to be the first people to try it. So
when he released it, I commented that I tried it, and people were so jealous.
Yeah.
So good.
So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. If you want to try and get a copy. If you guys want to pick up a bottle of the gin, you can find it over at Made in Stroud at Kendrick Street.
Yeah, or mainstroud.co.uk.
And yeah, hope you enjoy the podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Okay, so my name's John, and I'm from a small micro distillery in Gloucestershire called the Boutique Distillery. This is one of our products, which is a fine Cotswold dry gin. It's something I've been making for 30 odd years. I grew up in New Zealand, and my background's making moonshine and bootlegging. And yeah, it all sort of started for me really. I think I was about 19 years old. And there was a guy I knew, old fella in the village, and he used to get me to make these weird components for him at work. I was an apprentice engineer, and I'd make all these things for him, and he used to call it jobs for Jesus, because I'm sure he was robbing me. I'd make all this real intricate kit for him, and he'd sort of pay me a couple of dollars for it. Anyway, one day I sort of said to him, what's it all about? And he says, come over and I'll show you. So I went over to his place. And he had this old barn, and go down into this thing, and he had this this contraption in the corner, and I was like, oh wow, it's very is it George Orwell? I think it was. It's very sort of spacey, steampunky type thing. And he said, oh well, that's what you've been making. It's a still, and he'd put it all together. And I was like, oh, so what do you do? And he says, oh well, over here we've got this container. I think he had some rye or some malted grain and corn fermenting, and he said when that's finished rotting down and the yeast is finished doing its thing, we put it into the still and we make whiskey. And I was like, mind blowing, how you can take grain and turn it into whiskey is I should have been paying attention at school more. Anyway, it was like a revelation to me, so I sort of went back and I thought about it, and I thought, I'm going to do one myself. So then I built my first still. I was 19, it was just before my 20th birthday. And I made some whiskey, and then from there I made some rum. So it was sort of in the days, well, obviously we're talking sort of in the 80s, and well before the internet. So it was the only stuff you could really learn from is people that knew about the craft and what to do, or by reading maybe a book in the library or something, because you just couldn't, the information wasn't there like it is today. So a lot of it was experimenting with different strains of yeast, and I used to cultivate my own yeasts because I learnt that different yeasts bring different esters or flavours into a fermenting product, right, and that carries across whether it be a rum or a whiskey. So I was playing around with different yeasts, different grains, making some pretty good spirits, and I had a moonshine whiskey that was quite well known. It was called number 45, which was all to do with its ABV. It was 45 ABV, and in those days it was pretty strong. I used to use snow melt water from the mountains there because it was just the water was just incredible.
I'm going to show my ignorance here, but moonshine, is that legal here now? Is it? Can we still?
It's called. They call it moonshine, but it's illegal. You're not allowed to distill anything here in the UK unless you've got the appropriate license and permits in place. In New Zealand, it was different because I was young and stupid.
That he's not doing this right now.
No. So we'll touch on that. So we're talking about my illicit days. So. It was a bit like the Wild West. You did what you did and you sort of made friends with the right people that turned a blind eye and all that sort of thing, so that was cool. It was quite good. And then eventually I come to the UK and I remember I started going out with this girl I met when I sort of come to Gloucester, and I was like, right, I'm going to build a still, start making whiskey again. And she was like, I don't think anyone does that over here. And we're talking very early 2000s, like it's probably 2001. And so I looked into it and found out it was highly illegal. And Sandra wouldn't let me do anything remotely dodgy. So I shelved it, and that was the end of it. And it wasn't until sort of years on, we're probably talking about 2015, I was in Budapest, and I tried gin for the first time. Like, we're talking craft gin, not the rubbish my nanny used to drink, we're talking like a half decent gin. And I was like, oh my god, this is really good. And that was it. I was hooked. And then I was, I do a lot of photography. I've got a really good wedding photography business. And I noticed that when I was going around and shooting weddings at these venues through the Cotswolds, I started seeing all these little craft gins popping up behind the bar. And so I was like, well, if it's illegal, how come everyone's making it? Where's all this craft gin coming from? So I came home. That was on a Saturday night from a wedding. And then I was straight onto HMRC on the Monday. And they said, yeah, well, you can do it, but you need all these permits. So I spent the next year or so getting legal and building a distillery that's 100% legal and above board, making what I love, Like I said, my background's making whiskey and rum, but I use my sort of know-how and skill that I used to make number 45 with as a base for making a really good gin that's like super smooth. And when people sort of say to me, is there anything that, if you could say one thing that would, set a product apart, kind of, what would it be? And for me, it's the water. And I mean, like a lot in a bottle of spirits, I mean, that's 45 ABV, so there's a lot of water in there.
Every time you pick that bottle up, I'm just...
I know. I'm getting ready to have a drink, actually. I'm getting dry. So there's a lot of water in there. And one thing I did learn in the early days is water can make or break a product. If you look at a lot of the distilleries in Scotland, they've got their own wells and springs, and they're damn near under lock and key. If you get within 100 yards, they'll release the hounds, Smithers, So I tried water from Scotland, Wales, Yorkshire, and the best water was coming out the Malvern Hills. It just works really well with the botanicals of what I use in this. And so that was it for me. I built my own still. On a design I designed when I was sort of 19, 20 years old. She's called Genevieve, and she's built from upcycled like bits and pieces. And she runs on 100% renewable wind and solar. We're a proper. In the true sense, as a craft distiller, I'm all about the craft and the provenance of where all my ingredients come from. Right down to, I'll find bits and pieces. I build my own stills because I know that different stills and the way they're configured can affect the flavour of what you make. I use my own stills, I just totally love what I do, So, it's a little bit about me and what I does, yeah. But, I've got some gin here if you want to, have a little taste.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, okay. So, what do you want to try?
This is the only reason we invited you here today.
So we've got the gin that, made in Stroud Cell. This is our very popular Cotswold dry gin here. We've also got this pink gin coming out. It's raspberry and hibiscus. Yeah. Which is really good. I haven't really wanted to bring one out for a long time because I'm not really into sweet pink anything. But this is a proper pink gin made with our straight gin. and fresh raspberries, from a local farm, which is pretty good. So
we can. At the time of recording this, when you haven't released this yet.
No. So no one. This is actually top secret. No one knows what it is except you guys. But by the time it comes out, it'll be public knowledge, and you'll have it on your shelves.
Yes, please. Right,
do you want to try whiskey first?
What would be your
I would probably.
As a professional, what would you?
I tell you what, I'd probably try this. This is my number 45 whiskey.
Oh wow.
Moonshine. It's aged in Jack Daniel's barrels that I brought over from the States, especially once used Jack Daniel's barrels. It's at about 52 ABV at the moment, and it's got some really good taste of like toffee, maple syrup, some really nice vanillins coming through, and it's pretty smooth. So, right, I know you've been dying to get your hands on that.
Thank you so much.
Knock yourself out, mate.
I've been waiting to try it.
He's been, since we were driving about earlier today, Ryan's been holding this bottle. His hands are shaking.
Yeah, he's so keen, eh?
So excited.
Yeah, it's fine for me.
Wait, when did you guys first introduce each other then? When did you guys first meet, and when did you start?
Probably.
We met in the shop.
Yeah, well, I came in here with my mum. When my mum comes out from New Zealand, I'd take her around local places, and I remember there was like a sheepskin jerkin in the window here. It wasn't cheap. It was like 300 quid or something. And she loved it, and so I bought it for her as a little present, go-away present sort of thing. And then we sort of came in regularly, and then we were in here one day. We'd been to the farmer's market, and I was making the gin, and Sam was like, "Oh, you should have some stock it here." And I was like, "Oh, no one will want to stock it, I'm just enjoying drinking it." She's, "Oh, no." And he's like, "Yeah, fair play." He says, "Yeah, we'll have a look at it." So he liked it. So it was good, wasn't it?
We had. I was like, "Great, yeah, let's do it."
Cheers, guys. Good health.
Good health. Yeah, particularly now.
Ooh. That's got some depth.
It'll be all right when it warms up a bit, I think. We'll let it sit for a while.
That is lovely, though. Yeah, I remember you saying, I've got this gin, and I was like, yeah, great, I'm really interested. And I was like, what about other things? Are you going to make other products as well as gin? What if the gin bubble bursts? And you're like, oh yeah, I can make other things.
Well, I think with it's a bit moreish. The legs on that.
I'm glad to know that I'm a bit more of a whiskey person than I am a gin person.
Yeah.
Not to blaspheme or anything.
No.
But that is gorgeous.
Yeah, very good.
Wow.
That'll get better. That's by Christmas. I mean, it's still quite young. By Christmas, that's just going to be like the nuts, eh?
I want to punch an elephant.
Amazing.
But it'll be good. But it's really good. I think good spirits, you just have them like that. I mean, I wouldn't put water with that, or ice.
Okay, this is a hot topic with me and my friends. What is the way you're supposed to drink whiskey? What is definition?
I tell you what, it entirely depends, because we've all got different tastes. We all like different things. So I like vanilla. I like chocolate. I like coffee. I like all those sort of things. Some people like spice. And what you find is when you're aging spirits, from anything above 55 ABV in a cask, including like whiskey or whatever, will have more spicier notes to it.
Yeah.
But once you hit 55, 54, and you come down to about 49, 50-ish thereabouts, then you start getting these flavours through. Like you'll get the vanillins coming out of the oak, and there's different levels of those that come through. You'll start getting just a little bit of sweet come through as well, and that's my bag, eh? So I just make stuff. That didn't take long to hit. I just make stuff I like, and hopefully everybody enjoys it. The same I do, eh? Yeah. And that goes from a gin. My wife hates. She doesn't like tonic water. So when I made a gin, I needed something that you could drink neat with ice, so she would love it. I needed something that had loads of flavour and punch to it, because what I found is if you're out at a really nice bar and you're paying 14 quid for a gin and tonic, you want to taste the gin in it.
Right.
And too many gins get lost in the tonic and they become insipid or you don't taste it as much. So I want a gin you can drink neat and wouldn't have any burn. A gin that would stand, a single would stand up to any tonic you threw at it. So then,
I
you know,
recommend that one.
yeah.
Just have a single,
Yeah.
half of that.
There's 2 serves in these minis. So half of one of those, 75 mils of tonic, and excuse me.
If you come across someone who says, I don't drink whiskey or I don't like whiskey, but they want to try it and they want to get into it, what would be the recommended way to serve it?
I would probably try it neat myself first. And even to gin people, I say to gin people that don't like gin, I say just smell it. And they smell it and go, well, yeah, actually, I like that. And I'll taste it and they go, well, there's no burn. That's actually really good. So I know when they put a tonic with it, and you know, you might put, with ours, we do it with rosemary and a big sprig of garden rosemary, fresh garden rosemary, and a slice of red grapefruit, because that's sort of what we use when we make it. It's one of the botanicals, so it complements it. But then with whiskey, I would try it neat, and then I might try it with a couple of drops of water or an ice cube, and just let the ice cube melt. And then as you're drinking it and you're watching the ice cube melt, you can say, well, okay, I actually like it at about half an ice cube. It starts watering down after that, so yeah.
That's the part that's the hot topic amongst
Yeah.
my friends. Is do you put ice cube? Does it destroy it?
Water, honestly, water changes the structure of a drink greatly. So when you make the spirit and you've got your whiskey and it's come out the still at like 73 ABV, thereabouts on a good day, more like 68 it comes out. So when you've got that, it then goes into an urn, and then it sort of it sits in there to stabilise. And I need to get that down to 45 ABV. So I'll give it probably 2 days, and then I'll start adding water to it, and I'll add the water in thirds. So if I run a 50 litre still, I'll end up with probably about 22 litres of spirit coming out of full strength gin. And I think I'm probably going to add about 16 litres, 17 litres thereabouts of Malvern spring water to bring it down to 45 ABV. And that's kind of best for it. Whiskey's a bit more complex, because it certainly draws on the aging process from the oak and the barrel and stuff. And so, yeah, it's just try it, but don't put it with Coke or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, no.
You know? Or, you know, this makes a really good old-fashioned, so I'd have it as an old-fashioned.
Yeah, well done, Johnny. That's cracking.
Cheers. Taking a lot of thought in doing it, eh? But that I developed that kind of about 30 odd years ago, eh? So yeah.
Well, very quickly, if anyone wanted to try some, just give us a reminder of the name and what it's called. And
it's it's a boutique distillery. That it's going to be number 45. It's single malt. The name, I've trademarked the name, and I'm not saying what it is just yet.
Great.
But it's the packaging's going to look totally different. So yeah, you guys will be the first to see it when it's out there. But it's going to be called something single malt, and once again it'll be 45 ABV. Yeah.
Maybe you could come back to meet the makers when.
Yeah. It's good. We can sit here and get hammered. Yeah, sounds good.
Just have a rehash of the first episode.
It'll taste even better by then as well. You know, it'll be oh god.
I just realised I got my glasses on top of my head
I'm the
still,
same. Yeah, might have to stick them on, for this next bit. It's just going to get messy now,
Oh, yeah. I'll be wearing these in the morning when I'm editing this podcast.
Mine live up here, all the time. Here we go. This is our pink gin. So once again, it's based on our Cotswold dry gin. It's got fresh raspberries in it from over farm and hibiscus flowers. I tell you what, something else that's interesting is that one of the ingredients I use in here is we grow at the distillery. It's Fijoa. And we were using this back in New Zealand for years for making vodka.
Okay.
And it's a fruit us Kiwis are drawn to, like, can I say flies on shit?
Yeah,
like kit flies on shit.
Yeah.
On flight, like flies on beep.
Manure.
I mean, we haven't decided what this podcast is going to be rated yet, but I mean, so you're going to set the bar.
Yeah, right. Right, I'll keep it clean. My mum, when she came over a couple of years back, she bought me some of the Fija fruit, and it's kind of like looks like a green egg, but like a green passion fruit.
Okay.
And you cut them in half, and it looks a bit like a banana. It's one of the most amazing. It's my favourite fruit. And in fact, when we have friends and family come to stay from New Zealand, and they're like, "Is there anything you want us to bring us, Johnny?" It's like, "Yep, bring me Fija smoothie," and it comes in a bottle, and it's just literal pulp. And I keep them in the freezer. Every now and then I get one out, and I'll smell it, and I'll taste it, and so good. So anyway, Mum came over, and she bought me the fruit, and I got the seeds out, and the seeds are about the size of a pinhead. They're so tiny, and I cultivated these Fija bushes. So I grow them on site, and then I use the leaves to put now still. So every bottle has got a little bit of New Zealand DNA in it because it comes off the bush in my mum's front garden. And
It comes off the bush in your mum's front garden.
Yeah, sounds weird, doesn't it? Sorry, Mum.
I think
Talking about your bush here.
I think now we've decided what we're rating the podcast.
Yeah, pure smut. And so a little bit of New Zealand DNA in every bottle. And then what I've got is I've got a seal coming. I'm going to start stamping the tops of the lids with a little design. It's a little Maori motif, which is called a kuru. And it sort of looks like a spiral, and it's sort of it symbolises like new life, growth and strength. And if you look at where they get it from, the Maoris get it from like a silver fern. Same as the All Black shirt, it's got a silver fern sort of frong on there. Well, but when that's a baby, it's like this little curled up thing, and as it curls, it kind of unfolds into the silver fern. So this motif I've got is like the little curled up thing before it comes into new life. And so we're going to start stamping all our bottles. So that arrives this week. And I'm stoked, eh? Yeah. So all the pink gins will be starting with it. And then, the new batches of this from batch 8 all have the little motif on it as well. And it just adds something else to our story, you know. I'm 12,000 miles away from home, and I still, die-hard Kiwi through and through. And I just, want to keep my bit of heritage there as well, eh? So, yeah. Keep talking, mate. We need to crack this baby open.
You do.
So, as you know, Jack and I are cousins.
Yeah.
And we go on holiday every year to Polzeath in Cornwall. And I took a bottle.
Sorry, Roy, you've drunk most of it anyway.
I did have a little bit before. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Do you want some more?
It went down.
Do you want a bit of mine?
Treat.
He's not saying no, is he?
There we go. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.
Good health once
much.
again.
And to you.
Twink.
Yeah, it's a real good punch of raspberries, eh?
It's so lovely, isn't it?
Damn, yeah. That's taking me back to Cornwall.
Yeah.
That will just slide down there. That'll slide down all day long. There's no sugar in it. Just the sweetness from the raspberries, eh? Yeah.
I love that. No added sugar.
Oh yeah, it's poison, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to bring that point back, but very quickly, right? Just talking about Polzeath and things like that. We're going down in a couple of weeks' time as well. But finish your story about when you brought it down.
Oh yeah, so I brought it down, and we always argue about.
What do you take down? Oh, this. Yeah.
And there's always an argument about whether gin o'clock's 5 or 6 o'clock. We all say 5 o'clock.
And it turns out to be 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
yeah.
If you're older than that. And it went down a treat, and it got nailed pretty quick, didn't it?
Yeah,
that's
Everyone
good.
Enjoyed it.
Bear in mind, there's like 20 of us within this one house, and we've only got the one bottle, so we're all looking at it, and we're all just keeping an eye on our watches and going, come on.
Daylight saving. Fuck it.
But you have to be the first one there as well to pour yourself one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll be gone by the time everyone's served themselves. But yeah,
Everyone enjoyed it, though, didn't they?
It's good, eh?
Oh, it takes.
In
Yeah.
fact, I was messaging you about it. I was like, everyone loves it. It's good.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah, it's better than. Can't remember what the other one was, but yeah, it's good. Well, lot goes into it, eh?
Oh, excellent job.
You'll try this one next.
I'm still on mine at the moment.
This is so special. This pink one.
Yeah. I can't believe. Thank you so much for letting us be the first ones to.
No.
First one's on camera.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for an official tasting, I haven't sat down and drunk it with other people yet. Well, we had a dinner party the other night for Sandra's birthday.
Nice.
And it's so cool because I've got this this Mexican friend in Mexico. And
you sure?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. Monica, she's a photographer, a really good photographer in Mexico. And I think I saw a picture of some food she'd cooked or taken a photo of on her Facebook page. And I was like, what the hell's that? And she said, oh, it's called Tacos al Pastor. It's like a really popular street food. Yeah. It's a really popular street food in sort of Mexico City.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, right. And she said, I'll send you the recipes. So she sent me some recipes. It's almost like a Mexican version of a piri-piri. That's the nearest thing I'd put to it. And use pineapple juice in it and stuff. And these big Mexican chilies that don't taste hot. They taste like raisins. Real fruity. And I made all this stuff up and barbecued it. Oh, my God. So we sat there, drank the pink gin. We tried it with... Because it was the first time friends had tried it. And so we had it with champagne and hibiscus flowers with some syrup I'd made. With different tonics and stuff like that, and it was just a clear winner, eh? It was good. But once again, it is this with raspberries, so,
I can definitely taste the original, but it just changes.
Yeah, but this is the daddy, eh? This is like, cheers.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I'm more than happy with this. So smooth.
It is the smoothest gin in the world.
Has anyone ever gargled on a podcast before?
I don't know.
Like I said, you're the first guest, so...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
But very quickly, just... I want to talk about this at the moment because it's...
Yeah, sure, go for it.
But before I do, I was just talking about the difference between your pink gin, for example, and then what you'd find like at Tesco's or something like that. Because, I mean...
You really want to get me started on that topic?
Well,
yeah.
For the point being of like how what Ryan said about it just being like not a hint necessarily, but it's like this but with a taste of raspberry at the very end.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of pink gins I try, it's just all sugar, all raspberry. And it's like they design it to not taste like gin, so that people will easily drink it a little bit more.
In my mind, it's a separate drink altogether. They know that the gin market at the moment, especially on social media, is just globally, it's bloody huge. So the word gin in itself is a very powerful marketing word, I guess. And so I think they've worked out that if they make a product that appeals to a lot of people, so it's sweet, it's pretty, it's pink, it's got nice flavour to it, easy to be drink, not a very high ABV because it doesn't need to be, then they'll sell bucket loads of it. And we've got some real close friends of ours, their daughters don't like gin, they love pink gin, and the only correlation is it's sweet and it's pink, but when I try it, it's not gin, A lot of these things are they use flavours and colourings, and essentially you can buy... I tell you what you could do is you could buy a bottle of the cheapest vodka you could find. You could add some juniper flavour to it, which you can get. You could add some raspberry flavour to it. You could add coconut flavour to it. You could add cookies and cream flavour to it, and you could sell it as some hybrid gin. People buy it because it tastes lush. But the stuff that's in it is absolute, there's no substance to it.
It's a liqueur, isn't it? It's not a gin.
It's not. I don't even rate anything like that, personally, and that's because I think I'm old school. I learnt kind of the old way. I'm a proper craft distiller. There's a lot of people now that even use the word craft distilling when all they're doing is probably buying neutral grain spirit, adding juniper to it or whatever, and running it through a still and coming out with something. And a lot of people do it because it's quite feasible, and I'm not knocking that because, it's a good thing to do. But then I think if you're going to call yourself a craft distiller, then you really need to understand the craft going back to fermenting, yeasts, how different yeast affect different things, and knowing a bit about the science behind it rather than, try and make a fast buck off it. I know that, I always said this will be a slow grower. I kind of do things, my way.
Yeah.
And I'm quite pedantic how I do it. It's so I can sleep at night.
Patience is key, isn't it? With anything, if you're going to do it properly, you don't want to get there quickly. You want to do it properly.
Especially, yeah. I mean, if I wanted to make a fast gin, I'd get some. If I want to make something quick and nasty, I mean, I'd probably just make it quite a low ABV, just so it qualifies as gin. I'd boost the flavour of the juniper with some flavour, because then I wouldn't have to spend so much on juniper berries.
Yeah.
Or cardamom, or some of the more expensive prices. Yeah. I certainly wouldn't be asked about putting fee jar in there, because it costs a lot for me to be able to do that. It costs a lot for me to grow it and look after it, especially through winter, because you've got to grow it outside, and use all those little things, But yeah, I just, I like proper stuff done the proper old way,
Well, I think the proof's in the pudding, and it's well worth it. I'd say well worth the patience.
Well,
well worth the. You call it being pedantic, but I think really that's the value that you bring. That's the value of. Well, that's why it tastes so good, isn't it?
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I think if I used I mean, like I was touching on before about the water, if I went up and just hooked my still up to a mains water tap, and a lot of people do that, and I would have a real problem selling my product to someone that half of it came out of my kitchen tap.
Oh God,
Yeah.
So that means, I mean, this is 45 ABV, so everything from my finger up, if that came out of my kitchen tap and I was selling it to you as a premium product, I would have a problem with that. So I get Wilfred the camper van, and I put our containers in. I go up to the Malvern Hills to Holywell and Spring, and they fill our containers up, and all it does is go through a particle filter to get any stones and stuff out, and then through a UV light to kill any pathogens, and then that's the only thing that goes in here, as well as our spirit. And I know I've done the best I can to give you the best product I can,
Sure. I could definitely taste it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well.
We get it a lot, so people are like, how much is this gin? And I'm like, well, it's £43. And that's expensive. And I'm like, yeah, but it's the best gin I've ever drank in my life.
Yeah.
And they're like, really? Yeah, if you don't believe me, try the miniature, and then come back for the big one.
Yeah. And people do.
Mm-hmm.
I've even here, if I've done a taster day here, I've had so many people say, I don't like gin.
Totally.
And I'm like, just have a little sniff. And they sniff it and they go, And I know I'll get them on a sniff. I think, and I can honestly remember it, I think I've had 2 people smell it and go, oh no. But everybody else has sniffed it and gone, that smells interesting.
Worth selling to it.
Then they've tried, absolutely.
Yeah.
Their money was forged, I could smell it a mile off. And they tasted it and they were like, oh my God, this is really, really good. And they've gone back. And then, I forged friendships off that. There's it's a really lovely couple that do your coffee. Callum and Courtney. Hi, Callum and Courtney.
We love Callum.
And they're so cool. So, I met them at a taster day here. They'd just come back from France. They'd got married, I think, the week before or something. And we kind of hit it off. And they really, really understood. And it was quite cool because I didn't realise what they did at the time. And talking to them, they were all about the craft themselves. And so they bought a bottle of our gin. Then they come back and they're talking to me and they says, we make sort of roast coffee. And so they could see the correlation between what I did and what they did. Being all about the craft, and for them, I mean, they buy some damn good beans and they roast it, and I like the flavours and I know my coffee, and I get all my coffee off them. Their coffee is really good.
Absolute coffee snob. So
mate, they're single origins, like
literally. I think it's just because of working in a cafe.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. It's just like.
Can you make a good flat white?
I can make the best flat white.
Good man. Good man.
The question I had was actually to Rye actually, but by extension I suppose it'll go over towards you. But what do people say when they come into the shop and they purchase a bottle, or they're considering purchasing a bottle and things like that? Obviously you mentioned the price thing. And
So they'll ask me about the actual product itself. So Johnny's come in and done taster days with us, so that's really helped me learn about the product.
Yeah, because you just soak that stuff up like a sponge, eh? Yeah.
And
He's a good learner, eh? He's like onto it.
Mr. Sales.
Yeah.
And then I've drank it numerous times, so that helps. So I just talk about what I know. So I know that obviously it's tempered with Malvern spring water, and I can remember 6. Hopefully after this podcast, I'll remember more of the botanicals. So I go pink grapefruit, juniper, coriander, cardamom, chamomile, and star anise, right?
Yeah, lavender.
Lavender. I never. So I always
Hibiscus.
go for the 6. I know there's 11.
Yeah, no, it's more than that. There's, I've helped you out because when I had the new labels made, these are our new labels as well, so they're bigger, brighter, and a bit more information on the back because I'm me, and I suppose I just take what I do for granted. I wasn't really saying anything about me, so now I actually spell it out that I build my own stills from upcycled materials to reduce our carbon footprint and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I've kind of put them on there. So yeah, this will help. This will help sell. Yeah.
Well, most of the all of the makers in here source their whatever they make. They source their ingredients or materials from locally and ethically.
I tell you what, that thing,
sources.
Yeah, and that side of the market is absolutely growing. I mean, for me, I'm part of a group called Happily, and that I've signed up to, and it's about being totally transparent about where all my ingredients come from and about the truth behind food and ingredients, because there's so many products out there nowadays that claim to be one thing but use something else. So there's for instance, I was on a Zoom meeting the other day with with Happily, and we were talking about a well-known jam, and this jam claims to be made somewhere, and which is all well and good because it's assembled there, it's jarred up there, and it's distributed from there, so it is essentially like a jam from a specific place. However, the strawberries and the fruit that goes into it come from China. So then you have to think, well, how much of truth is in there? What is the human rights issues of China at the moment? These farmers that are growing this fruit, what are the conditions they're having to grow it in? The soil, what's in the soil? Are there heavy metals in the soil? Are there pesticides in the soil? They're exceedingly dodgy with a lot of what they do, and this could be ending up in the products. Who's there to police it? And it's sold as a product, from a specific place under a very good name, and it's, dodgy. And also, at any given time, there's something like £10 billion worth of fake food in circulation. And that comes down to things like cod being passed off as pollock, being passed off as cod. There's chalk and flour. There's chalk and flour is a big one. Yeah, I kid you not. There's sunflower oil disguised as olive oil, and there's all this in circulation.
I've heard that. So in America, they have the same regulations, and you buy honey, and it's just syrup.
Yeah, totally. It's like maple syrup in America. If you have syrup with your pancakes, not much chance of it being maple syrup.
Right.
It's sugar syrup.
As well.
And most of that's high fructose corn syrup,
Yeah.
Once again, getting back to flavours. You can buy flavours of anything, and it's just a chemical, smells like something, tastes like something, you put it with something, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it's maple syrup, and it's BS, unfortunately. So the good thing with Happily is if we supply any of their outlets, there's like a little QR code on the shelf, so our product will be there. A consumer can come in and go, oh, this looks pretty cool. And they can scan the QR code, and not only is it we'll take them through to our website or our profile on the Happily page, but they can then see all the ingredients, where the ingredients come from, which have all been checked and verified independently from Happily. And so it means that people can make a conscious choice about purchasing something really honest and truthful. And that's starting to gain traction, and it's certainly going to be something that's going to, just propel things forward, I lived off the land in New Zealand. I used to do a lot of hunting and fishing for the freezer. So I've been I grew up with good food, you know. I spent a good time out in the bush, you know, not only making moonshine, but living there and, you know, feeding myself and stuff. And then I sort of found over here there's not that level unless you really search for it, of food provenance or truth. And I think people are crying out for it now, you know. Sure, you pay a bit more for it, but then once again, you know that it's come from a good source and it's straight up honest, you know.
I think I've had this discussion with a number of people. It's like, I'm happy to spend the £1 or £2 extra it costs for a chocolate bar or something, because you know that at least it's come from somewhere that is genuine, and it's not,
you're not paying for slave labour.
Totally. It's £2.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you know it's going to do someone good as well. And it's honestly, it's so. Rye will tell me, he'll say, sold a bottle of your gin today, and I'm literally excited.
Well,
you know?
we both are like over the moon.
Yeah, but some of the big producers, they don't give a shit if you sell 1 or 500. You know, it means the same to them at the end of the day. As long as the shareholders are getting their cut, you know, they're happy. But I think small producers definitely they get, you know, real kick out of it, and we're all starting to sort of forge these little relationships and groups, and it's starting to feed out in the community now, and it's got a really good vibe, good honest vibe about it. I think that a lot of the bigger companies and corporations are probably cottoning on to that sort of thing and how we do things, so they try and mimic what we do. They look at what we do, they start using words like craft, artisan, which has been flogged to bits, just all this sort of stuff, you know.
Artisan on a bottle or website or wherever, and I'm just like, next.
Yeah, it's such a shame, because it's such a powerful word, especially about what we do. Like artisanal, I mean, it's a beautiful word. It's really good, and it sort of sums it up in a nutshell what the craft is all about. Whether you produce chocolate, flour, bread, bakery, whatever. But then all of a sudden you've got some like big supermarket going, our artisanal sourdough. And you just want to get that piece of sourdough and kick it over the, you know, do drop goal with it, you know, straight between the posts sort of thing.
How very Kiwi.
You know? Oh, yeah, throw and throw away, you know, from the halfway
roll.
roll.
We're so lucky, aren't we, in what we do.
Yeah, totally.
We're passionate about it, and it makes us happy, and it's you know, it's true.
Well, it's dead honest, and it's like, you know, it's that just does make you happy, you know, when you get something like that. It's just got, I don't know, it's got a good feel about it. It's like if I went down to the farm shop down over farm or somewhere, and I bought some sausages, I know I'd be getting some good sausages. If I wanted to go out to 7&Y Smokery, which are like really good, if I go out there, I know I'm going to get some really good mussels. You know, I love mussels. I make my own sourdough, so that's my treat, you know. Toasted sourdough, loads of butter, and a big bucket of mules.
Your mum makes the best mussels.
Oh, really?
We fetch them for her.
Yeah, so we harvest them.
Really?
And then she makes them on holiday.
It's so good, eh?
Oh, with white wine and cream.
Well, I didn't have wine last time, so I used gin.
Oh, wow. How was that?
Really good.
Okay.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Right.
Surprisingly. Yeah, I used gin, cream, a shallot, and some good French salted butter, and then put them into steam and stuff with some parsley in there. Oh, yeah, they're good. And I'd made a loaf of sourdough that morning, so it was like nice thick slices. Some of that French butter on there to soak up all the cream after. It was like flipping good, eh?
Damn.
Food of the gods, that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got some scabby old pork chops tonight. With peri sauce, so that's good.
Yeah. Mate, thank you so much for coming down.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, eh? Yeah, it's been awesome, eh?
To any of our listeners or watchers,
viewers out there,
or listeners, if you buy one of Johnny's beautiful bottles of the Cotswold Classic,
or the pink gin, yeah,
from watching this, I will give you a free tea towel as well. So yeah,
that's pretty good. And not only that, for every bottle sold, Rye will walk around the shop in a pair of pants.
No, right, that's mine.
I'll wear them over my trousers.
Oh, he's a mankini up there. I'll wear that. We'll do a little dance.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. No, dude, thank you so much. For
it's
coming
been
on the show.
honestly an absolute pleasure, You know.
Now I've got to try and form a sentence together again properly when I get home, and we say to when Rachel asks us where we've been.
Oh, she's probably asleep.
Shopping.
She's tired.
Where have you been? Oh, we've just been
Working.
Working.
She knows where we are.
Ignore that. That's just a hiccup with pizza. But thank you so much.
No, honestly, guys, absolute pleasure, You know, I mean,
Delicious gin.
Ryan, mum's always
whiskey.
helped me out here, so you know, it's if I can do anything to help you guys out, you know, I'm all for it, Yeah, it's been
Thank you
good.
so much. Thank
Good
you
word.
everyone for listening. Thank you for everyone for listening to the Meat the Makers podcast. We're still figuring out when these episodes are going to come out. We haven't this is being recorded months before they're getting released yet. So we're still figuring out when these guys are coming out. But we've got so many makers coming onto the show. I think we have over 150 in the shop.
Something like that.
So we've got plenty of episodes planned and plenty of stuff happening in the future, and you'll hear from us very soon. Thank you very much. And like Rye says, if anyone listening to this podcast is interested in free tea towel and wants to pick up a bottle of delicious gin, then come on down. Which street are we on, Rye? Just so
we're on Kendrick Street, number 16, or you can just go to www.madenstroud.co.uk, and Johnny's in the food and alcohol section.
Woohoo!
Obviously.
Johnny, if people wants to follow you on social and all that sort of stuff, where do they find you?
Instagram mainly, the Boutique Distillery.
Great.
Yeah, come find me there, say hi, put your hands up, and join in all the fun goings on.
We'll find you there.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, perfect. That's good. Is it all right?
That was brilliant.
Is it all right?
Thank you so much. No, that was perfect.
Oh, mate, that's just
That
it.
was fun.
I'd just happily sit there and play cards for the rest of the night.
Yeah,
now.
could we?